Hello everyone, I'm Hayley. I'm usually in the craft room, but today we're in the kitchen. Would you like to spend the day sewing with me? First things first, let's get this paper pattern cut out. And yes, I label my scissors so that I know which ones are for fabric and which are for paper. I am making the Tytka Studio large backpack, but I'm actually going to alter the pattern to make it slightly wider and slightly taller and slightly deeper. This will come back to bite me in a little bit, but at this point I'm blissfully unaware. I think we're good to go. That whole process has taken exactly an hour. Oh, but the worst part is over, right? Now we get on to the fun stuff. Here's my fabric. I've shown you this so many times before, but if this is your first video, I will show it to you now. It's a lovely navy and ecru dot, but can you see the weird zigzag pattern it's doing? It's worse on camera than it is in real life, but now I've seen it, I can't unsee it. So it's a home deck fab. I didn't want the zigzag in my house, so great use of it now, because I wear so much navy, so actually I think it will be a really fun colour for the backpack. And even though I'm making this primarily for our holiday, I do love a hands-free bag with kids. It will be useful for many things, I'm sure. And actually this looks pretty quick to cut out just because it's basically all rectangles. Why am I folding it? I don't think I need it on the fold, do I? It's just cut one of each. Yeah, cut one. So, well, this is a whole new world, isn't it? Just cutting one of things. Woo. Right, I'm going to get done what I can. Probably won't come back and say bye-bye. The next time you see me, hopefully this will be cut out and it will be another day, because clearly when I thought I was going to make a backpack in a day, I was wrong. Does anyone remember that time I thought I was going to sew an entire backpack in a day? Oh, I didn't even get it all cut out. Anyway, I'm back to it. Here are all the pieces. Here's the interfacing that I bought. As you can see, it really is pretty stiff. It was just from Hobbycraft. I've got all my bits and bobs ready. And in here I've got all my zips and my bindings and all of my hardware. I've had a genius idea, which is to get my old sewing machine out and thread it. I'm leaning because it's down there. I'm going to thread it in the lining colour. So the lining is this pale cream. The outer is navy. So I'm going to leave my normal machine threaded navy, my old machine threaded in cream, and then that way as I need to construct a bit of lining and a bit of bag, I don't have to keep swapping my thread colour. So let's get that done and get on with making this bag. Finally found it. I put it in the drawer in the kitchen. Why would I do that? The first step is sewing the front pocket. Here's the pattern piece. You can see I've added a bit to make it wider because I have made the bag a bit bigger overall. And I've cut that from my main fabric and my lining. But interfacing wise, this is the stuff that I bought recently and it is really stiff. Like, it holds its own weight. I can hold that up and it's firm. I also have a little bit of this, which is sew-in craft weight interfacing, and it's much thinner. And I'm wondering if that might be better just for the pocket. I don't want the pocket to be super stiff and standing proud. So I think I'm going to do that in the softer weight, save the heavy weight for the shell of the bag. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut this and zigzag it all the way around the edge of the lining piece. I just thought it'd be more manageable if I sewed the interfacing to the thin lining rather than the thick outer. But you know, making this up as I go along, so we'll soon find out. Okay, we've been assembling the front pocket and I've got it lining, outer, zip. I've left this clip on the end because I bought continuous zipper tape and I'm really worried about just zhuzhing the zip all the way off the end. I'm sure it will happen before we're done with this project. Anyway, I've come up with a couple of challenges. So the first one is this fabric. Can you see the embroidered dots are raised? Now I'm using two machines. This is my old Smarter by Pfaff C1100 Pro, and this is my newer Pfaff Ambition 620. And the 620 has feed dogs that are really, I don't want to say sharp, but quite sharp basically. And they are catching this fabric. Let me find a bit where it's done it. Here. So if you look at these two dots, it's caught and lifted the embroidery away. We don't want that, do we? Oh, it's terrible. So at the moment, I've got the Smarter threaded with the lining stuff, but I'm going to swap them and put the navy in the Smarter because those feed dogs are just not as sticky uppy, technical term. So I think they'll work better on the blue. However, so far, thankfully, apart from that one thing where it happened, where I was just basting the seam allowance down, everything has on the Ambition has been fabric right side up, so it hasn't actually damaged it anywhere. So I've got that top stitched. My next problem now is basically I'm just stuck with the instructions. So I'm looking down here at my iPad where I've got the instructions, and I've not made a lot of bags before. We all know I can't do a zip anyway, but these instructions are photographs, not diagrams. Normally, on a project like this, where it's something totally new to me, I would print off the instructions so that I could look over them a few times, flip back and forth, cross things out as I've done them. I didn't print them out because we only have a black and white printer. I don't know why I can't talk today. We only have a black and white printer, and so photographs will not be easy to see at all. So I'm doing it on my iPad, and I've worked out why I prefer drawings to photographs. And the reason is, with a drawing, they can show you one step say you're putting the zip in, they can show you half of it unassembled and half of it afterwards. Do you know what I mean? That was the zip tape lifted out the way and that was the stitching line. So on drawings, they can kind of show you a before and an after on one drawing by showing you two halves of a job that's half done. I hope that makes sense. On a photo, they tell you what to do and then show you a photo of it completed. And in this case, it's just not clear to me what I'm supposed to be doing next. So this is the bottom of the front pocket with the zip. This is the top pocket. I had assumed I would just be laying this pocket right sides together with the zip, stitching, flipping. But then I came to the instruction, take the upper pocket element and find the notch on the edge. Upper pocket element, notch on the edge. I can see two lines. Fold the element according to the dashed line from the pattern. So there isn't a notch. There's two lines. So that's two notches in my mind. And I just don't understand. So looking at the next picture, what they're trying to achieve, I think, is a zip cover. So this will be folded and will end up over the top of the zip, and then you'll like lift that to get in the zip. Do you know what I mean? So you'll like lift this flap out the way, which will expose the zip. I'm not lining this up too well. Imagine that folded so that from the front of the bag, you can't really see the zip. It's under a little flap. I think that's what we're trying to achieve. From the photos, I cannot work out how to achieve that. So I'm going to go away and futz with that a bit more and also swap over these machines so that they're threaded the other way around. But I've got to say, two machines in two different colours. I'm not going to say necessary, but honestly, I would have unthreaded and rethreaded my machine already like 6 or 7 times. And this is all I've actually done. Okay, I think I figured it out. So it says to fold it along the dashed line. Firstly, it doesn't say which dashed line, but looking at the pictures, I think it's the top one. Secondly, it doesn't say whether to fold it right sides together or wrong sides together. At first, I folded it right sides together. Now I think it's wrong sides together. Then the next instruction is place the upper pocket as shown and pin the edge with the remaining zipper. So I've been trying to match this to the zipper, and then you've got this extra flap that's just like, what? What it doesn't say is fold it, press it, unfold it, place along, pin, sew. So I think you're just folding it to get the crease in, then you unfold it. So here is the actual piece. I folded it and pressed it to get the crease. Now I think I unfold it. I was trying to put this folded edge along the top of the zip. So now I think you unfold it, sew it, and then when you flip it, it kind of covers the zip, I think. We're just going to have to go with it, see what happens. So I am now ready to apply this pocket to the main bag. And let's just say I learnt the hard way to read a few steps ahead in the instructions. However, I've read a few steps ahead in these instructions and I think something important's missing, but maybe I'm overthinking it. So this just says to pin the pocket, it says to press under 1 centimetre and then pin the pocket piece to the front piece of the bag, so as close to the edge as possible, and it just shows it top stitched on. After that, you place the front onto the front lining and stitch around the edge. Now, I think if this is only attached to the outer and not the lining, and therefore not the interfacing, I think it's going to pull away from the bag when it's full of stuff. Oh, I don't know. My gut feeling is assemble the front outer interfacing lining, stitch around that, and then stitch this through all layers. I can't see why that would be worse. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do. So watch this space. So I'm feeling good about my decision to stitch the pocket on through all layers. This is feeling so much firmer, and I just think the bag will droop a lot less with the support of the lining and the interfacing. I am, however, feeling bad about my decision to wear this jumper because I am super hot. I also don't want to go and change though, because I'm just like really in the zone with this project and want to crack on with it, and I can't really take my jumper off. Well, I could, but I can't take my jumper off and carry on filming because I'm not wearing a vest underneath. So that's that all trimmed. Let's get this on. Pinned on. Honestly, even just getting that pinned was a challenge through all the layers, so maybe that's why they tell you to do it through fewer. I'm not sure how my machine is going to cope with this, but I'm going to put my edge stitching foot on, take it slow, do the best I can. Deep breath. Well, credit to the faff. It did remarkably well with that, much better than I thought it would. It does do better with thick layers when it's going faster, but because I was top stitching, my natural inclination is to turn the speed right down. So on the first side, when I went over the zip, it did get hung up and do that pause, machine needs to rest thing. And I think it's just because I was going quite slow over it. So the machine didn't have like the oomph to pierce through quite a thick nylon zip. And it was actually going through the teeth at that point. So I hand turned it through the zip. And when I came to it on the other side, I turned the speed up, took a deep breath, just committed and power through it. And it didn't hang up at all. So here's the inside. It is on. Let's try the zip. So pleased that's done. And I feel like that was the right decision, putting this through all layers, because otherwise I just think the pocket would slump forward and the lining would stay inside the bag. Do you know what I mean? Oh, right. I'm glad that's done. It's time for a rest. Okay, it's time to put the carry handle on the bag. And again, with the instructions, I'm just not sure. They want you to tuck this under, top stitch along the lines of the blue on both sides onto the bag front, which is here. So stitch that on. That all makes sense, doesn't it? But then they want you, from where I've marked these pink lines, once this is sewn on, they want you to pinch this in half all the way around and sew it together, you know, to make like a really professional looking carry handle. Doesn't it seem like you could do that stitching now before you put this on the bag, and then it would be a lot easier? Because once I've got stitching along here, to then pinch there and get that through the machine seems very tricky. Anyway, I can't see a reason why I can't do it, so that's what I'm gonna do. Back in a moment, I'll tell you if it worked. That's all stitched, and I can't see why it's detrimental to top stitching this on, so I do think it's easier. Let's get that installed. You might remember I made this bag wider, and now I've pinned these in the original positions. It's too wide, isn't it? I need to move these in. So I'm going to repin them with the correct spacing between them. So instead of measuring from the outside in, I'm going to remove this bit from the calculation and measure between those. Not going to lie, pretty impressed with myself right now. Check it out. I have got to say that top stitching was like the most fun thing ever. Absolutely loved it. There's the inside. Probably should have changed my bobbin thread. Never mind. Yeah, so the front of the backpack is all done. I've got my zip pocket with my overlocked edges. Got my handle on. Let's go and see what's next. Well, the zip is installed and it's all bound on the inside. That was really good fun, but also quite tense. You know, when you're learning a new skill for the first time and it's equal parts exhilarating and terrifying. But I'm so pleased that it's done. I don't know what's next, but I think I need to go and have a cup of tea. It's a new day and it's all going wrong. I will try to explain why. So here is my completed front of the backpack, and I've been working away getting the side done with this lovely zip guard. So pleased with that, all looking really professional. And what I'm supposed to do is put this around there and it makes the sides of the backpack. I hope you can get the idea. But when I altered the backpack to make it bigger, I did alter every single piece. I didn't alter every single piece in every direction. So here's the front piece, and you can see I've added 5 centimetres of height and 7 centimetres of width. When I initially cut out the side panel, all I did was add depth to make the bag deeper front to back. I forgot that because this wraps all the way around the top and the sides of the backpack, I needed to also take into account the width and the height that I'd added on this piece. I hope that makes sense. Basically, this is the side piece from which I've cut this, and it's not big enough to go around the whole bag. Because I've made it bigger this way and this way. So obviously, as well as making the side piece deeper, I should have made it longer so that it would wrap up the side with the extra, across the top with the extra, up the side with the extra, and similarly the bottom panel, I should have added the width that I added to make the bag bigger. So pretty cross about that. It is good that I had one go at making this though, because again, the instructions are just not the best. So at one point they said to pin something together. It was the zip guard, pin it, and I did it, and it wasn't that clear where you were doing it, so I followed the pictures exactly, and then the next step was to sew something to something down the sides, and at no point had it said to sew that bit that you'd pinned. So when I finished sewing these bits and flipped it all out, this bit was still pinned, and I looked at the photos and it was sewn, but it never actually said sew it. So it's not going well, and I'm a bit cross, but the good news is I have loads of fabric left. I have now added on a piece to account for the extra height and the extra width. I'm going to recut the sides and the bottom and the zip guard, resew those, and then hopefully we'll be back on track. I recut them and it worked. This is just basted, but it's really starting to look like a backpack. I can't quite believe how professional this is looking. I'm so thrilled with it so far. Oh, can't wait to do some more, but I've run out of time. So the next step is to bind. So this is the side of the zip that's already bound. Doesn't that look nice? But this messy side where it's all just basted, I need to bind that next. So a job for another day, but yeah, very pleased. So I know pride comes before a fall, but will you allow me to show off for a second? So this is what I'm calling the front of the backpack, and it has this, you can't see that at all, can you? And it has this pocket, which I'm calling the front pocket. I'm going to use that for lip balm, tissues, hand sanitizer, all the stuff that you need to grab while you're on the go. But I don't want any valuables in there. So I had the idea on the back of the backpack, which is yet to be applied, to add a pocket. And look what I've done. I've added a zip. Is this a zip welt? I don't know the technical term, but look at that. Ta-da! And that is where I'm going to keep my phone, because it will be right against my back when I'm wearing the backpack and nice and secure. I've got to say, I'm actually like very impressed with myself. So it's just basted together at the moment, but I wanted to show you my progress. So here's the front of the bag, and on the back, we've got that pocket I added, and now I'm putting the straps on. And I wanted to talk to you about the straps because, again, the instructions, the way they tell you to do it, I don't think it's right. So they have you put at the bottom, let me undo this and show you. You add your sliders through a little loop of webbing, and they tell you to add it in the middle of the slider. And then they tell you to get the strap, which comes down from the back, and simply thread it like so, through there, and then down through there, and then pull it tight. Now, when I've got weight on this, that's just going to come undone, isn't it? As you pull on that, it's just going to get looser and looser and looser until it just falls out. Now, yeah, I could put a stopper or something on the end, but that just doesn't seem like the right way to do it. So I asked my husband, because he understands things like this, and he suggested a better way to do it, which was to thread this bottom loop not through the middle of the slider but through the bottom edge, and then thread this down around the slider in the middle and up and out the top. So that now, the more weight you put on the backpack, the more secure the strap is, the tighter it gets. Which that seems sensible, doesn't it? And if I want to loosen it, I just pull it down. But when the tension is this way, it's just getting tighter and tighter and tighter. If I want to tighten it, I pull it up like that. But when there's weight dragging down on the bag, this is getting more secure, not less secure. So the first thing I need to do before I sew this seam for real is undo this strap, move where it's looped on the slider, and then I will sew this seam properly, because do you remember my video where I was complaining about pins? I got so many amazing suggestions. Thank you so much if you're one of the people who left one. And one of them was extremely obvious, but something I had never thought of, which was to hand baste. So obvious, but not to me apparently. But how amazing. And I did it. So when I was binding this zip, I was using lots of clips rather than pins, and a couple of times I missed the binding on the back, and I unpicked it and redid it, and I still missed it, and I thought, oh, I'm just gonna have to use 1,000,001 pins in this. And then I thought, no, hand baste it. So that's what I did. It worked brilliant. So when I was putting this whole back panel in, I just hand basted it instead of clipping it at all. So much quicker. Thank you so much. And also I wanted to show you that I've added some loops for our water bottles along the back panel. It's just really wide elastic that I measured around our water bottles and just stitched it down. So I'm hoping that will keep all of our water bottles standing up and not falling over inside. So I need to alter the straps, sew this properly, bind this, and then I think I'm done. Can't wait to see it finished. Okay, we've got another problem to do with me making this whole pattern bigger and then failing to take that into account later on in the process. So when I bought all the supplies, I just followed the supplies list. And obviously, because I made it bigger in every direction, I needed more trimming tape. Oops. So I'm going to run out of this cotton trimming tape, like 15 centimeters shy of being able to bind the whole inside. I've just been hand basting it around. And yeah, I do have a Prim Aqua Trip marker holding my hair up, because this project has not only spanned many, many days, in fact many weeks, it's spanned a lot of weather conditions. And today it's gone hot again, and I don't have a hair clip in the craft room, so we're making do. Anyway, 15 centimeters short. I know myself. If I leave it like this, thinking I'll buy some more tape, come back to it another day, I never will. So I'm going to make some bias tape. I've actually got an old sheet lying around that I use for like test garments and stuff, which is a pretty good colour match. So I'm just going to do it. I'm going to make some bias tape from this and get it done, because otherwise I never will. my gosh, it's finally finished. Check out. My backpack is big, isn't it? But that is what I wanted. Oh, I'm so thrilled with it. I'm so thrilled it's done. And I'm really pleased I put all that interfacing in because it's still not the most structured bag ever. But you know what? At least that means it's not too heavy. So here's the front. We've got a zip pocket along here for all my like bits and bobs. And then we've got a zip pocket along here. This is not in the pattern, I added this one myself. For my phone to keep it snug and secure while I'm traveling. We've got carry handles. And then inside, it's all bound, and at the back down there, I added loops for water bottles. So, wow, I cannot believe it's done. I also cannot quite believe how long that took. If you have stuck with me all the way to the end of this video, all the way to the end of this project, thank you so much. We got there. It's finished. I love it. I'll link the pattern below. Thanks so much for following along. I hope to see you again soon. Bye.